I think we can start. It's 6:30.
Yep.
So hello and welcome. My name is Patricia Bedut and I am Curriculum Manager for Supported Learning. With me today is here my lovely colleague, Azima, who is our Clinical and Operations Manager. And hopefully on a screen in front of you, you can see the name of Julie Murphy, who is the Head of Supported Learning Department. We are very happy to have you here with us, and I wanted to welcome you warmly, although neither Azima nor I can see you. The way we structured today's open event is that we have a little presentation and we are going to talk you through it. And at the end, we will have some time to actually take questions and hopefully answer your questions. So just to say that Learning Difficulties and Disabilities Department and Mental Health Department are two departments that sort of comprise the whole Supported Learning Department, and we will focus predominantly on our LLDD provision, but there is a little mention of a mental health provision as well later on in our slide. So I hand you over to my lovely colleague Azima.
Hello, everyone. It's lovely that you can all be here this evening. I'm going to run through our centre. I'll go through a few slides that will cover some images that will give you a better idea of what we kind of offer here. As you can see on the screen, you've got a picture of our building. It's our LLDD centre. This is our main centre that we use for learners to access. We do have also on the right of the screen, we have our e-block. So some of our learners do also access this block as well. Now this facility is available at our Southgate campus. Learners do arrive at the front of the centre and they're normally dropped off by transport, cabs, or kind of parents drop them off as well. Around the back of the centre, we do have a small garden area as well, where we're actually working on a whole new project in line with COVID. So we're looking at a whole new Hope Garden in memory of what's happened over the last year. Although over COVID, we'd be focused on having this building for our learners and it remains as a bubble. Prior to COVID, we really kind of promote the use of the whole of the college and mixing with the main centre. So we have learners that actually access other parts of the building prior to lockdown, and hopefully come September, if the guidelines do change, that will be reverting back to their normal timetable and they will having access to other parts of the college. Moving on, this is where you will see the picture of our atrium. So when you arrive, unfortunately you can't see our lovely reception, but you will come in, you will see our reception area right in front of you. To the left, you can see our munch box area. Now this area is where learners actually offer breakfast, they do lunches there, and it's sold to staff and other learners within the college and within the LLDD centre. So on arrival, you can also see at the top, we've got blue beans. Now we've got a lot of lovely art project running through the whole of our centre. This is an enterprise that was created when the centre originally opened in 2015 by our blue beans kind of counterparts. You can see pictures on the screens. They are our PMLD learners. So they are the original founders of this enterprise. It has been quite dormant over the last year, but we are looking to kind of run things again from September. We're looking at kind of other options in terms of having a shop for our learners. So we've got a lot of good opportunities in the pipeline for them. This is kind of a classic look of what our classrooms look like. A lot of our classrooms do have IT equipment, computer access. If you are working in our PMLD provision, we do have hoisting facilities available. There'll be less tables on the ground, and you will see there's also access downstairs to the garden area. So if you're in our PMLD provision, you'll have direct access to the outside area. We do have a lovely drama studio, and we do offer performing arts as a qualification here at the centre. Some of our learners do have drama a part of their programme, so they also access the drama studio as well. Here on screen, you can see our lovely catering kitchen. We do have two parts to this. So our learners, I previously mentioned, that offer that sell on the munch box, they use this, both kitchens, to produce breakfast, lunches. They sell it, but they also do it part of a catering qualification. So they actually cook for themselves, their peers, and they also do take this home. It's a qualification they're working towards an entry 3. We also have learners that access this, or higher level learners, just to kind of develop their home skills, their independent skills, making basic kind of breakfast, lunches. So they also have access to this during their week on their timetable. We do have a flat, it's a home skills flat, and the focus is on independent living. What you can't see on screen, we have another area to the left, which is actually a bedroom area. And we also do have a bathroom area with hoist facilities available too. So the focus isn't just based on cooking, it's actually the whole, kind of looking at hygiene. It's looking at being able to change beds. It's being able to, make a basic meal for yourself, for others. But also we use this as an area for example, where learners actually sweeping up, organizing the kitchen. So that's really helpful. A lot of the learners access this during the week on their timetable. You can see we've got a big sports hall. We have in our sports hall, you will see a room at the back, which is for our rebound therapy. We do offer rebound therapy here if learners have this on their education and health and care plan, and it's a directed kind of therapeutic intervention. Our physio on site is a trained rebound therapist, so she does use this. It's got hoisting facilities also available. We do have learners that would like to go in there and just do a little bit jumping around, but we do advise that they don't do that. And staff as well do like to go and jump around in there, but we advise that it's for just therapeutic interventions and on your education and health and care plan. We do have in the centre 2 sensory rooms. Now this sensory room it's a good opportunity for learners to kind of regulate their emotions, if they want a bit of time out from the classroom environment, but also a lot of teachers use this as part of their sessions. So we do have staff taking their learners in, especially PMLD and complex needs, to access this particular sensory room, a part of their session. We also have another breakout area. We don't have a picture of this, which is very similar. However, it's more padded and it's more kind of secure area for learners to just have a bit of time to regulate their emotions. A hydrotherapy room. So if learners are accessing hydrotherapy, again, this would be a part of their education and health and care plan. The therapy, so we've got a physiotherapist on site. She's hydrotherapy trained, so she will be taking learners in based on what it says on their education and health and care plan. You can see towards the back, there's 2 doors. So they're changing areas, and learners are actually changed and they're hoisted over and then put down into the pool. There's music available. A lot of sensory equipment is also available in there as well. Over the last year, because of COVID, we haven't actually had access to the pool area, but hopefully moving forward, and if the guidelines change, it will revert back and we'll be accessing this again. I'm going to hand over to Patricia, who's going to now go through the curriculum with you.
Okay, so in the center, we offer a variety of programs, and I will quickly talk you through. Our next slide is going to sort of explain a bit more, although we are in the process of changing the curriculum and looking at it and slightly redesigning it. But essentially the logistics of, so students are with us 4 days a week, 16 hours a week. That's what in a College of Further Education is viewed as a full-time course. So once the student is accepted and gets a place on a course, depending on what course they are doing, they will have an allocated day off, and this will be consistently the same day off throughout the year. We are open 35 weeks during the year, and our sort of termly calendar matches most schools in Barnett and Enfield, if not all schools in Barnett and Enfield. So our courses run from September till the end of June, beginning of July, subject to which academic year it is. As I mentioned, students will be with us 4 days a week. And they will have, depending on what group they are in and what level they are, they will have a number of qualifications. What's worth mentioning is that we have, as Azima mentioned, profound multiple learning difficulty students and sort of severe learning difficulty students, which are part of our complex needs provision. And also we have students who have moderate and mild learning difficulties. Now, students who are on a moderate/mild learning difficulties provision, they will have things like English and maths as standalone subjects, and they will also have tutorials with their personal tutor. And then subject on the course they are on, they will have other subjects such as sport, dance and drama, employability, art, and so on, cooking. Now, the students who are on our complex needs provision, they have maths and English as embedded in all the subjects they do. We offer sensory curriculum, so the subjects that may have on their timetable will be personal and social development, independent living skills, sensory art, social enterprise, these type of subjects, sensory gardening. So this is an example of a timetable. Our lessons, and actually I can see there is a mistake because it says 9 o'clock, but actually we offer 2 sessions during the day. So the students arrive to college between 9:30 and 10, and the first lesson is starts at 10 and finishes at 12 o'clock. There is a small break. Obviously it's quite a long session, so students will have quite, well, about 15-20 minutes, depending on the subject they do break. Then they will have lunch between 12 and 1, and the next session starts at 1 o'clock and finishes at 3, with again a short break in between. Now, they will be then collected either by parents or by transport between 3 and 3:30 and obviously taken home. So essentially they are with us 4 days a week between 10 and 3 o'clock. So Azima, can I ask you for a next slide, please? Thank you. Now, the programs we offer, and this is how it looks for current academic year. We have in the center, we have about 25 programs, and they are between sort of at the lowest end of a spectrum, it will be a milestone provision. And then at the highest level, we will have a course like performing arts, which is essentially building up to level 2 qualification. Now, and then we have everything in between. What's quite worth mentioning, I think, is that unlike mainstream college courses, we do not have applications for a specific course. Obviously, we will, as you can see, we have courses like catering or performing arts, which may be of interest to young people, but essentially the application is through local authority, through consultation. We assess a young person and then we place them on an appropriate course. Now, obviously we want to take young people's opinions into account, and obviously they have aspirations and goals. So for example, if we have someone who comes and says, I really want to do performing arts, let's say our assessment indicates that they may not be able to complete the course successfully at this point in time, because as you can imagine, they will need to have certain level of written skills, verbal skills to access that course, because it builds up, it comprises at the moment of entry 3, level 1 and level 2 units. So we could suggest a different course to build up their skills, and eventually the student will be able to progress to the course they want. In this case, what I mentioned, performing arts. Now, our admission process, as I mentioned, is not the same as mainstream. So in order to apply for a mainstream course, we would have to complete an application, very often an online application, and then we are invited to an interview where our skills would be assessed, and subject to our personal circumstances, we then enroll on a course, and in some cases we may have to to pay for the course. In some cases, the course may be free. For the courses in the center, because all our students have educational health and care plans, we need a consultation, which essentially is an email or a letter from a local authority requesting a place for the young person. The reason we have this system, and we are, I'm sure, not the only college that has, is that, as Azima mentioned, some of our students will have a quite substantial input in terms of therapies. We have speech and language therapy, therapists on site. We have physiotherapy, hydrotherapy. We also have input from music therapists. And we have a nurse. So in some cases, the input is substantial, and it means that the costs will be substantial. So essentially, by consulting us, the local authority agrees to paying these costs for the young person. So normally what happens, a young person is at school, they have educational healthcare plan, and therefore they will have a review. During the review, the progression options are discussed, and hopefully a young person will choose us. What it then means that the local authority will be sending us an email or a letter requesting a place. We will be assessing the young person, contacting them, contacting the school or all professionals involved in care of that person. And then if we can meet their needs, obviously we will inform local authority, funding is agreed, and the young person can join the course. There is one thing I want to mention. We, as you have seen from the presentation earlier slides, we are quite an open center, and we have even the entrance to the college, to the building is quite sort of open, it's quite busy. We have, our capacity is around 190 students. And although we don't have 190 students on site every day, we probably have between the LLDD building and the E-block about 150 students on site. So we are quite a noisy center. We are quite open. You saw that the entrance to the building is next to the car park. So in some cases, when we receive consultation, we may assess a young person and say that we cannot meet their needs. And what I wanted to stress is not that this young person is not suitable for us, because everyone deserves the right provision, and everyone deserves an opportunity to thrive. But in some cases, simply we are not a suitable provision for a young person because we couldn't meet their needs. So for example, if we had someone who required, a very sort of secluded classroom with quite secure swipe system, this is not what we can offer, because we are quite an open center. We have a lot of classrooms that are utilized all the time. I think when we are all on site, there are no classrooms that are ever unoccupied. So for that reason, we are not the right provision for everyone, but I would like to think that we are the right provision for a lot of young people.
Yeah.
Now, what I wanted briefly to mention, because I said at the beginning that supported learning consists of two departments, and the other department is mental health department. We have at the moment two types of provisions there. We have an adult mental health provision and course link provision. Now, course link provision is a mental health program for teenagers, 16 to 18-year-olds, and I would say that not all of them, but I would say 80% of them this year have educational health and care plans. And this provision, I think that it's an amazing provision because it serves as a stepping stone for young people who may have been school refusers, have social phobia, depression, anxiety, and actually cannot access full full-time course in mainstream, but by coming to this provision, they can develop their English, maths, IT skills. They have elements of art. They have personal and social development, tutorials. So the whole provision is designed as a stepping stone, and they can then progress from that provision to mainstream or apprenticeship or supported internship if they wish to do so. And what you are seeing now are the details of our colleague, Stephanie, who is our high needs placement officer. And obviously, if you ever needed to ask her a question, you have our email addresses there and Stephanie's number. So if you want to jot it down, please feel free. And if you have any questions, we will do our best to respond to them. So I think this concludes our presentation bit.
Thank you.
And I think we are going to have a look at the chat now, because we would like to sort of answer your questions. So let me just go. So I don't know if we have.
Yes, we do have some questions. So do you want me to read them out?
Yes,
we can
please.
go through them. So we do have Anya who's got a question. How does assessment admission process look like for complex needs learners? Are learners still living at home, or does college work with accommodation providers too? So assessment process is very much the same way in terms of we receive a consultation from the borough. Once we receive consultation from the borough, we will contact, if they're at school, we will contact the school, or if they're at home, we will speak with families as well, and we will carry out a thorough assessment before we can say if we can agree to kind of accept them or decline them into our provision. So a whole assessment process does happen. Are learners still living at home, or does college work with accommodation providers? We do work with learners that are in care, that are at residentials. We have a vast kind of, we work with many boroughs as well across London. So yeah, the whole assessment process is kind of thorough in that sense. So if you're looking for a learner to attend and their complex needs, same process, the consultation needs to come from the borough to us. We will carry out assessment and see if we can meet their needs.
Yeah. Now there is another question, just to make it clear regarding courses, the family do not choose a course. No, the family, unlike mainstream, where obviously we would have to specify whether we want accounting or hairdressing or any other course, the place is purely, the application or the consultation is for a place in a center, and we will assess a young person and put them on the course that we feel fits their profile and capabilities.
Yeah, and then you've got, are there similar facilities in the Barnett campus? No, we are a facility only available at the Southgate campus. There isn't a facility the same in Barnett campus.
No. And then there is another question, sorry, I am asking this as I have been asked by the SEN team, what courses I am interested in for my brother at the college. Now, can I just clarify? Within supported learning departments, we have students who have EHCPs, but we also have students on mainstream courses who may have EHCPs. Now, this event is focusing on supported learning courses, LLDD courses, mental health courses, because Azima and I work for this department. Now, I am not sure whether you are, because it may well be that, for example, you have a brother, in this case, brother, who wants to study, for example, a mainstream course, but will need additional support. Now, if this is the case, then he should pick the course he wants, and your brother can apply for a course online. But what's important that if your brother has additional learning needs and will need something like one-to-one support in class or out of class, that actually this is indicated and that the consultation is still sent to the college, but that support is not provided by our department, it's provided by our colleagues in learning support department. So if I am not clear whether the question is about mainstream courses and EHCP, but if it is, then it's an application online application for the course, consultation, and discussions with our colleagues in learning support
Just
department.
to update you, it says my brother has severe learning disability and would not be able to go to mainstream college. It's the same.
Okay, so in that case, I don't think SCN, I don't think you should worry about what course he's interested in. I think you should think whether obviously education, if the education is the right place for him, I think. And if you feel that what we can offer, so essentially among our courses, we have complex needs courses. We have courses that are, the names will not tell you much, and we are actually changing this into a slightly different program of like steps. But we have courses within MLD and severe learning difficulties that develop skills. And then we also have work path courses that sort of helps young people progress to supported internships, or maybe in some cases employment, in some cases to other academic courses. So I think if you feel that you would want your brother to come to us, the local authority should send us a consultation, and we will be assessing him and then communicating the results of this assessment to you as well. And then obviously there would be opportunity to discuss the courses further. Now there's another question. What does a day look like for a complex learner? How sensory is your day? I let Azima answer this.
Very sensory. No, it follows very much the same timetable. So they will be on site 4 days a week. We do have a profile is very sensory downstairs. So you're looking at sensory art, sensory gardening, a lot of therapeutic interventions. If it's PMLD, you're looking at therapeutic interventions as well. They do also have access to like cooking, the higher level groups, so your complex needs, they do have access to the flats. In terms of the actual program and if you're PMLD, I would say it's a very therapeutic. You've got music therapy, you've got explore the world, which is very much about sounds, exploring your environment, materials. So PMLD is very much kind of sensory. Complex needs does vary in terms of their ability and their range. So their timetables and what they're accessing in their curriculum does vary depending on the need of the group. A lot of it could be drama, music. You will also see the same question you've asked about in terms of how many people are supporting in class. PMLD, if it's 5 learners, we tend to have 5 support staff. In complex needs, it's very much based on what it says on the education and health and care plan and how much support they require. So we do go based on what it says on their plan. But in terms of PMLD, we do have, for example, 5. If we've got 5 learners, you will have 5 support staff and a tutor added to that as well.
Yeah. Now there is a question from Charles saying, do students with complex learning difficulties have one-to-one and support healthcare needs? So as Azima said, I just wanted to say that what we've noticed over the years, when I started in the department, and I have been here for years, I remember when I started, essentially everyone within complex needs provision, PMLD and sort of complex needs autism groups, there was a one-to-one with every learner. Now, what we are noticing that more and more students from that provision now will come with EHCPs that indicate they don't need full one-to-one. For example, there is 0.5 support. So then there is a shared support with someone else. I think all I would say is that obviously you know your young people best. So if you feel that your son, daughter, brother, sister need one-to-one, where it needs to be specified is the educational health and care plan, because essentially the local authorities fund what is in that EHCP. But like Azima said, I wanted to say as well that our sizes, because I think we haven't talked about the group sizes and you may be interested. So within PMLD groups, you are looking at groups that have around 6 students, up to 6 students maximum, 6 support staff and the teacher. In complex needs groups, autism groups, you may have between 6 and 8 students, depending on the group. group, and then not necessarily everyone will have support, but support ratio is still quite high. So you may have 7 students and 5 support staff and then a teacher. Within moderate learning difficulties provision, I suppose the higher the student's level, the less support is there. But whoever, the setup in these groups is that whoever has one-to-one support will have the one-to-one, and then each group will have a group support. But we don't have more than 10 students in the group. So you may be looking at a group of 10 students, let's say 3 of them have one-to-one, so there will be 3 members of support staff, 1 group support, so the 4th person and the teacher.
One of the questions is, do students need to be independent travellers? No, they don't. A lot of our learners come from local authority transport, and they're picked up and they're dropped off and collected at the end of the day. Also, if it's not buses, we have cabs that also drop learners off too. So no, they don't have to be independent travellers.
Now, there is a question from Shona. Can you give us more details on my learning difficulties? What are the options? If someone wants to do business study, what support could you offer? Okay, so in the center, we do not have a business course. A business course is a mainstream course. And obviously, I don't know the young person you are inquiring about, but for example, what could a possible progression be? That a young person attends a provision such as ours, or any other provision, because I would say as well that I would encourage all of you to explore as many provisions as you can. Obviously, I would like to think that you would love your young people to come to us, and we would love to have them. But I think it's fair to say that you, as family members, parents, guardians, know the young person's needs, and you should be exploring what's out there, because only you know what's best for them. So in answer to the question, we have students who come to us, they have EHCPs, but they may feel that socially, they come from very supportive small schools, they may feel that they don't want straight away to join the mainstream course, which obviously, as I mentioned, our groups vary, but are between sort of 6 and 10. Mainstream, you may look at 20, 25 students in a class. So they could come to us, for example, to do a course just to sort of get used to college life, improve their English math skills, and then progress to mainstream, for example, to do a business course with support. So as I mentioned before, the consultations the college receives are sent to the college, then 2 members, 1 member of a learning support team and a member of our supported learning team meet, look through these consultations, split them, which they think which are suitable for us, which may be mainstream. So support in mainstream is available as well. It just depends what the young person's EHCP says. So sorry, I waffled a bit, but I hope I answered the question.
It says, and the next question, at what age do you end your provision for young person? Can you provide education to their 25th birthday?
Do you want to answer this? Or do you want me to answer this?
No, that's fine. Your education and healthcare and care plan is up to the age of 25. However, we actually don't have learners up until the age of 25. So essentially, when we get learners in, our programs normally run for up to 3 years. It doesn't mean they can't go on to other provisions and do internships and progress into other areas, apprenticeships, where your kind of education, health and care plan will continue to cover the learners in terms of their support. But in terms of our centre, we don't have learners for more than 3 years. We do have regular annual reviews, and we assess the learners' progress. So yearly, the same as the school systems, we have yearly annual reviews. We'll assess how they're progressing. We invite the local authority, and we kind of review that. So if, for example, if we have a learner that's making significant progress, then yes, there could be a case for a 4th year or potentially a 5th year, but that is actually the local local authority's decision at the end of the day if they're happy to kind of fund that.
Yeah, but I think they can I also say that just because someone comes to our center, it doesn't mean that they will be given 3 years. It's all subject to annual reviews and academic progress, and in some cases there is no need for them to stay 3 years, so they can do 1 year with us and then actually quite happily progress to mainstream or a different sort of provision. There is a question from Rana: is your course suitable for minor disability? I think we have courses, we have a number of students. So as we were mentioning before, we have students who have quite profound physical difficulties and quite profound cognitive learning difficulties, up to students who are able to achieve level 2 qualification. But what we really is essential for application for a place in a center is that a young person has educational health and care plan. So it's not a type of disability, it's really whether they have educational health and care plan. And can I just say that obviously in like I mentioned before, we may not be a suitable provider for everyone, but I would like to think that we are objective enough. So if we feel that there are better provisions out there for a young person, we would be able to assess and actually communicate that decision. How many hours a week is catering? All our courses are 16 hours a week, because 16 hours a week is classed what's a full-time education in an FE college.
We've got my daughter is at Waverley School, manages her through secure classrooms. Otherwise she would wonder, is there any point in applying? It really depends. We do have a good relationship with Waverley School, so we would carry out an assessment and determine if this is a suitable environment for her. I think that's the best way to kind of move forward. We do have support in place, and we do have a lot of learners that need opportunities to pace and opportunities to be out of the classroom, be in the sensory room. We do have that at the centre, and we can facilitate that. But if it's kind of absconding because of the way our building is kind of laid out, that is quite dangerous, and we wouldn't be able to manage that at our centre.
So I think there is a question about how many students to staff in a class. So I think we answered this already, but just to recap, we will in everyone who has a one-to-one written in the educational health and care and plan will have, our classes vary between 6 to 10 students. The PMLD classes are obviously having 6 or less students. Higher level groups will have up to 10 students. The complex needs groups, including PMLD, the ratio is very high. Very often it's virtually 5 students, 5 members of support staff and the teacher. Whereas for higher level courses, there will be some one-to-one subject to students' EHCPs, and there is also a group support to support all other students. So it varies. Do you run the course Move Up, and who is suitable for it? The course Move Up is run by our colleagues in Foundation Learning, and so I would encourage you to sort of go to that open day event. It's a course that is a progression route for a lot of our students. So within our sort of, for the lack of a better word, top end groups, we will have group, let's say students who may be working with us towards entry to qualification in English and maths, and then they will be moving to Move Up, which is an entry-free provision, and then they may the following year go to something like a bridging, which is even higher. But Move Up course is Foundation Learning, not us. How do I apply for transport? There is a question.
Transport, you can apply for your local authority. A lot of schools do support in transport. We don't kind of give transportation forms. So if you contact your local authority, they will send out a form. The best time to apply is after April, May, because that gets you in good time, ready for September. So we do advise, once your consultation and your place has been kind of accepted and agreed, that you apply in the summer term to get ready for September. number?
Essentially, transport is an arrangement between a family and the local
authority.
And we wouldn't be able to arrange transport because obviously we have 200 students. We wouldn't be able to manage that.
Can I confirm the transport from LB of Haringey is available? Yes, we do have learners coming from the Haringey boroughs, and they do provide transport.
We work predominantly with Barnett and Enfield, but we do not have like catchment areas. So we have students at the moment. I think we have about 10 local authorities. Students come from 10 local authorities. In the past, we even had students from Westminster and Kensington and Chelsea, and the transport was provided for them. So yes.
What about severe autism and learning difficulties? We do have learners with severe autism and learning difficulties. That will be a part of our complex kind of needs provision. Again, it's kind of really based on assessment. It's very kind of hard to, when you're not seeing the young person, to give an answer in terms of what provision would be suitable for them. So again, once we receive consultation, we will carry out an assessment. We will speak to both families and schools, and then that will determine if we've actually a suitable provision for that young person.
There is our lovely colleague Frances from Durant School, and she just wrote a message, I don't know if you've seen it, that anyone from Durant we will help arrange. I think transport she means. Now, there is another question from Cheryl. Do the staff help with toileting and dressing? Yes, wherever appropriate, we obviously we have capacity, we provide personal care, so absolutely yes. If a course is at a different campus, could support be provided after they have been at the LLDD center for a time? Yes, but like I said before, support for mainstream courses, regardless of the campus, whether it's Colindale, Barnett, High Barnett, or Southgate mainstream course, is provided by our colleagues from Learning Support Department. But yes, they can have support.
So hold on, let's go from, it says, thank you. My sister has a lot of needs, but would not do well in a total sensory setting, as she likes a very animated atmosphere and learns a lot from her peers at present. Do you have a mixed class for someone who needs a lot of care, but not sensory? Potentially, you might be talking about a move to learn provision, which is a higher functioning, this PMLD group, and they do focus on kind of enterprise maths and English. We do, you've asked another question within that, so I'll answer that as well. But that kind of curriculum isn't totally sensory. They do benefit from some sensory sessions in there. They're more higher functioning, a very communicative group. At the moment, there's 5 learners that they use a lot of high kind of tech AAC devices. They use iPads. We do have pods that we use, communication books, visuals and PECs as well. So there is a range. So potentially after assessment, we can assess, obviously, like you said, you know, your sister likes a kind of different environment. So it's kind of really assessing the needs of the learners and finding a suitable group. So we wouldn't want to put someone in a group that actually is not going to allow them to excel to their full potential. So that's really important. I hope I've answered your other question where you put about, I've asked about, do they progress on communication such as pod books and eye gaze? We do, if they, for example, they're using eye gaze and they're using pod books, we will continue with that at the college. We do have 2 speech and language therapists on site that work across the provision, and they will support in terms of eye gaze, accessing it, supporting them in terms of changing any icons, because obviously if they're coming to college, there might be some amendments that are needed in terms of different pictures, because their teachers were changed, their peer groups were changed. So they will also support in making amendments where necessary, and also work with the local borough if any updates are needed, any changes in kind of AAC devices.
Now, there are 2 questions from Rana. Is lunch included, and when can we visit the college? So in terms of lunches, some of our students are entitled to free school meals, and there is an application for that. And we would obviously, during enrollment, give all the necessary documents and support you with completing these forms. Obviously, some students are not entitled to it. visits. So then it means lunches have to be either a young person can bring some money. We have a college sort of restaurant. Obviously during COVID, we were trying to minimize the exposure. So we try to remain in our bubbles, but we have a restaurant, and the food in the restaurant is also halal food for those of you if you are interested. So usually there is a vegetarian option as well. So either money or lunch if they are not entitled to free school meals. If they are, they will be getting lunches from us, from our restaurant. Now the second part of the question, sorry, I forgot what it was. The one was about lunch and the other, oh gosh, where is the question from Rana? Sorry, I said I will answer.
Sorry, Rana, if you can put that in the box again, that would be really
again,
good.
because it disappeared and I can't remember.
If you could put that in the box again, we
yeah,
will answer you, Rana. I'm just going to go on to Katerina's.
The other question was, when can we visit the college?
Oh, when can sorry. Yes. So
when
can I
you
just
visit?
say,
we don't know.
The thing is, what normally would happen, we normally never had these sort of events. So we always had on-site sort of open days, and obviously some of them were on Saturdays, some of them were in the afternoon. So because of COVID, obviously we couldn't do that, and I suppose until the situation clarifies, although we have next week a full return of students, we won't be really arranging visits or open day events on site until obviously there is announcement from the government that it's possible. So it's unfortunate, but at the moment I will blame COVID, because we can blame everything on COVID now. We won't be able to organize this.
Yeah, because at the center we remain a bubble. So we're not allowing people to come in and out. We've got a question from Katerina. It says, my daughter has her annual EHCP review last December, and Barnett sent me the amended one a few days ago. I completed an application for LLDD College Path Next Step on her behalf an hour ago. What is the next step, please? Whom should I contact to find out whether Barnett sent your college her educational needs? So Katerina, you've got our details at the end. If you send Stephanie Willingham the details of your daughter, then she can confirm if we've actually received a consultation, because although you've done an application, we wouldn't accept that application. It has to be from the borough. So yeah, if you do send them details directly to Stephanie Willingham of your daughter's name, then we can double check if we've received that.
Also to add, if you know that your local authority has not sent a consultation, please contact SEN department of your local authority and discuss with them if the consultation can be sent. Now there is a question, how long does an assessment take and the processing of the application? Okay, so the thing is, when we receive a consultation and we are in the process of receiving them, we, during pre-COVID times, again, we had certain schools that we obviously know the students are coming from. We would allocate a member of staff who would then go to school and assess the students. For students who are possibly more mobile or able to travel as well in an easier way, we would invite them to the college to carry out an assessment. Now, in current climate, obviously we cannot visit schools, and young people cannot really be invited for assessments. So we rely quite heavily on documentation from that we receive from local authorities, educational healthcare plan, positive behavior plans, and also obviously we communicate with families and schools where appropriate, or if we need additional information. Now, how long does it take? So there is, within EHCP guidelines, obviously there is a specific amount of time that we have, like time limits that we have to respond to consultation. Now, I think what has been quite interesting that we have not received consultations initially, and now we seem to be receiving them from all local authorities. So I would be lying if I was saying that we are doing it very promptly, but we are in the process. So tutors have been allocated to specific schools, and they are basically contacting schools. So even though you may not have heard from us, we are actually in the process of gathering information and responding to consultations. Our aim is, and hopefully we will be successful, that we will respond to most of our consultations by the end of the month, so 31st of March.
So there is one question about medication in school. We do have a nurse on site. So if part of a learner's care plan, health and care plan says they need to take medication, then that will be supported by a nurse. So that wouldn't be an issue. It's just making sure at the beginning of the academic year, you complete all the forms in terms of medication that's brought in. And our nurse will also contact all families with learners that are taking any kind of medication.
Now, there is as well a question from Simone about would the students have to eat lunch in the cafe, or is that if that is too stressful, can they eat in a smaller area? So yes, so again, I'm going to go back. Pre-COVID time, we would encourage students to develop their skills and actually mingle with mainstream students. We are absolutely not encouraging segregation of students. So in the past, students could have their lunch in the canteen, or they could bring it back to the center, have it in the atrium. Obviously, COVID meant that we had to stick to our bubble, and essentially what has been happening that for a period of time during previous lockdowns, we had lunches delivered to the center, and students were sort of collecting them from our munch box / reception and taking them to their classrooms or sitting in the atrium in a distanced way. But essentially the lunch can be eaten in a classroom. It can be eaten wherever it's suitable for the young person.
You've talked about a physiotherapist and a nurse on site. What other members like speech and language therapy, occupational therapy, and support with challenging behaviour? So we do have 2 speech and language therapists on site. In terms of OT, at the moment, we don't have an OT, but if a learner does have an OT on their education and health and care plan, that's something that can be brought in. In terms of support, at the moment, we have 80 SSA, so study support assistants, and their skills are varied. We do have people with challenging behaviour on site, and they're able to support that. A lot of our SSAs have had training in terms of de-escalation at the beginning of the academic year. So they are trained in terms of supporting challenging behaviours, and I think it's about kind of having that, like Patricia said, a positive behaviour plan, and we work towards that.
Yeah, and just to add to this, that obviously, you know, behaviour, having a challenging behaviour is not necessarily bad. It's means of communication. In some cases, depending on the behaviour, we could, for example, if someone was a persistent absconder, this can then mean that the place is not suitable, because obviously, you know, we are quite open, we are next to a car park, but I think it would all depend about what information we have and how we assess. So we would always say we would assess on individual basis, and we don't have like a blanket statements that we can make.
Okay, so I think that's actually all of the questions that we've gone through. We will double check just to make sure. Thank you, Stephen, for joining us this evening. But no, I think we've gone through all of the questions.
Yes.
Well, just to add, if there are any questions that haven't been answered, we can send them to the individuals.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I would also say that please look at our website. There should be a little video there, and I think, if I am correct, we created like a frequently asked questions pages, so hopefully you can access that. And but I think everything that's in these questions, they were actually collated following previous open day from parents. So I think maybe if there are any other questions, please feel free to send them to us. We will do our best to respond in a timely fashion, but it may not be within 24 hours.
And again, you do have our email details. You've got mine and Patricia's details. If you want to email us directly of any concerns or questions that you have, please feel free to do so, and we will get back to you as soon as possible.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
very
everyone for
much
joining.
for attending. It's a shame we couldn't see you.
It'd be lovely to see you all, but we
Yes.
can't.
Thank you.
Thank you.